The Supreme Court is wrong on the Second Amendment, and I am going to make that case every chance I get.
I've got a simple idea. Let's give up on the Constitution. I know it sounds radical, but it's really not.
If I could have gotten 51 votes in the Senate of the United States for an outright ban, picking up every one of them, Mr. and Mrs. America, turn them all in.
If we are to take back our own country, we have to start making decisions for ourselves and stop deferring to an ancient and outdated document.
That ancient, pesky Constitution. What's up, guys? Nick from Truth Blitz News. This is my first video on the new channel. So, I want to talk about gun control and the plethora of bills that are making their way through Congress right now. We knew it was going to happen with the incident in Parkland, Florida. It happens every time there's an incident. But this time, I feel there's more cause for alarm when it comes to our Second Amendment rights. So, we're going to talk about a couple of the bills that are making their way, like I said, through House of Representatives, and why these bills are bad. See, these politicians, these anti-gun politicians in general, but when it comes to this matter, these anti-gun politicians know what they're doing. They know how to word things in such a way that it's worse than it appears to be. You may read the title of a bill and think, well, that sounds like it would be a good bill. But when you really get down to brass tacks and read the actual bill, it is terrible for our individual rights. It is terrible for liberty. So we're going to talk about the assault weapons ban of 2018 and how it is far more overreaching than the original assault weapons ban that we saw from 1994 to 2004. We're going to talk about the bump bill, which you may think, okay, so they're just going to outlaw bump stocks. No big deal. I guess we can give them that. We got to give them something, right? No, not the case. They're also trying to raise the tax on firearms and ammunition. Another 10% on firearms and up to 20% on ammunition, I believe. So that is one. That one, I believe, is called HR 5103. So that's the increased firearm excise tax. There's another bill where obviously I'm sure you probably heard about this. They're trying to make the legal age to buy a firearm 21. And a lot of people, even pro-gun people, are okay with that. And this is why I'm not okay with that, and you shouldn't be either. You can serve your country at 17. You can go out, go to war, fight for Americans' constitutional rights, come back, and not legally be able to own a gun. Although you used one the whole time you were at war. You took a bullet. You were old enough for that, but not old enough to own a firearm. You can get a driver's license at 16, 18 in some states now, but we're going to call it 16. You can drive a vehicle that has the potential to kill people, but you can't own a gun until you're 21. So that is a bill that I don't agree with. And these are just federal bills, by the way. There have been a lot of states that have already passed gun control legislation. There are states that have bills that are being voted on right now. And some of these states, some of these bills that I've seen from them are like nothing I've ever seen. It's getting bad for legal gun owners in America. Because let's be honest, this doesn't do anything for the people who should be affected by these laws. The people who these laws are affecting are the legal gun owner, the person who abides by the law, who isn't doing anything wrong with their firearms. So let's talk a little bit about the bump bill. Now, here's what Donald Trump has to say about the bump bill.
I signed a memorandum directing the Attorney General to propose regulations to ban all devices that turn legal weapons into machine guns.
To turn legal weapons into machine guns. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure that a bump stock doesn't turn a weapon into a machine gun. All it does is make it easier to bump fire, which you can do with just your finger and a belt loop. You don't need a stock for it. A lot of people are going to say, well, like I said, I don't care if they ban bump stocks. I don't have one. I don't plan on getting one. It's whatever. And I'm not personally a fan of bump stocks. I think they're a giant waste of ammo. But the way this bill is worded, it bans any rate increasing device. So we need to talk about what can be classified as a rate increasing device if they so choose to deem whatever it is as a rate increasing device. You could potentially polish the trigger on your Glock to make it smoother and a little easier to fire and have just committed a felony. A bolt carrier group for your AR platform rifle. Anything you can think of can technically be considered as a rate increasing device. So herein lies the danger in that bill. Again, these politicians like to word things in such a way where, if they so choose, they can come later on and say, well, all of these are illegal now because they increased the rate of fire. So since you put one on your gun, you're now a felony, your guns are getting taken, you are barred from life, for life, from owning a firearm because you broke the law. So that's why that is dangerous. It is not black and white. It is just a huge gray area. So let's talk about the Fix NICS bill. All right, so the Fix NICS bill, which Thomas Massie has been warning about, and he is a congressman from Kentucky. We're going to listen to him and see what he has to say on why this is not a good bill.
Why is this so bad? What's wrong with the Fix NICS bill? Well, there's a problem at the VA right now. I've heard from people that work at the VA, and I've heard from veterans who've encountered this problem. If you tell the VA that somebody else manages your money, they can take away your right to own a gun. They put you in the NICS database, but it also, not only can you not go to a store and buy a gun, it's illegal for you to possess a gun or even to possess ammunition. And veterans are getting thrown into this system every day. They're having their right to own a gun stripped merely because they say they don't manage their own finances.
All right, so I want you to think about that. A veteran who does not manage their own finances. If this bill is passed, can then be barred from owning a gun. See, this is what really gets me, is the attack on everybody's Second Amendment rights, but especially when it's done to veterans. we swore an oath to the Constitution, and then a simple bill that is lumped in with another bill. And this is why this is dangerous, because the bill that this is lumped in with, which is the Stop School Violence Act of 2018, who's going to read that and say, well, that doesn't sound like a good bill, let's vote that one down? The Stop School Violence Act of 2018. But lo and behold, lumped in with that bill was the Fix NICS bill, where if passed, will make it illegal for any veteran who doesn't manage their own finances to own a gun, buy ammunition, so on and so forth. Now this is where I'm going to get a little conspiratorial. We already know that they see veterans as a threat. Veterans are among some of the most awake people and most dangerous. So anything they can do to make it so a veteran cannot own a firearm, they're going to do. Because if shit ever hit the fan, you better believe the last thing they want is armed veterans. And that's the God's honest truth. So they don't want anyone to be able to own a gun, but especially a trained veteran who is trained in weapons and tactics. So let's talk about HR 5087, the assault weapons ban of 2018. This is the original assault weapons ban on steroids. This is Feinstein's wet dream. The original assault weapons ban made it so any weapon with a detachable magazine and two of the evil features was an assault weapon. This bill makes it so you only need one feature to have your rifle, pistol, or shotgun considered an assault weapon. Now, the scariest part, in my opinion, about this bill is not the plethora of guns that they have listed by name, not their definitions of what they're using to define what an assault weapon is, but it's the fact that it's got 173 co-sponsors. Out of 435 members of the U.S. House of Representatives, 173 are co-sponsoring this bill. That is a massive number. Now, I know you're going to say, well, Nick, we have a Republican-controlled House and Senate. And yes, we do, you're right. But there's a lot of pressure on Republicans to cave in on our individual rights to own firearms. Just because 173 people co-sponsored it, and that doesn't add up to more than half of the total of the U.S. House of Representatives, does not mean that people who did not co-sponsor it aren't going to vote on it. So we're going to go over a little bit of the definitions. A rifle, semi-automatic rifle, has capacity to accept a detachable magazine in any one of the following: pistol grip, forward grip, folding, telescoping, or detachable stock, a grenade launcher or rocket launcher, because Everyone I know has one. Barrel shroud, threaded barrel. Arbitrary things, mostly, that do not make a firearm more deadly. Then we go on to guns with fixed magazines. Anything that has a fixed magazine that accepts more than 10 rounds, except for a tube-fed 22 assault weapon, if it's semi-automatic. Then we get on to pistols. Same thing. Semi-automatic pistol, capacity to accept a detachable magazine in any one of the following: threaded barrel, a second pistol grip, barrel shroud, capacity to accept a magazine at some location outside of the pistol grip, so a Tech 9, something of that nature. This is where they add this in to make sure they're covering all their bases. A semi-automatic version of an automatic firearm. So anything that looks military or scary, done. Let's go on to shotguns. Semi-automatic shotgun that has one of the following: folding, telescoping, detachable stock, pistol grip, fixed magazine with the capacity to hold more than 5 rounds, ability to accept a detachable magazine, a forward grip, a grenade launcher, a rocket launcher, because again, I know tons of people who have rocket launchers on their shotguns. Any shotgun with a revolving cylinder, so your strikers, street sweepers. And then they go on to list all of the rifles by name, all of the weapons by name, not just rifles. All of the following rifles, copies, duplicates, variants, or altered facsimiles with the capability of any such weapon thereof. All AK types, all AR types, all Tommy gun types. I mean, the list is huge. They go on to list high point carbines. I used to have a high point carbine. It's essentially a big pistol. It's a 9mm. They have it in other calibers as well, but you know, it only came with a 10-round magazine. There was only one company that made a 15-round, but that was the highest you can get. You know, it's because it looked scary. All right, so they even go on to name the Jesse James Nomad AR-15 rifle. You know, they went in depth. So the Barrett M107A1, the M82A1, Beretta CX4 Storm, and on and on and on and on. All Uzis, CZ Scorpion. You get the picture. Anything you can think of is on here, including 22 versions of the AR style rifles, or the 22 version that looks like an AK, you know, the AK style 22. Anything you can think of is on this band by name. And just to make sure they got everything, like I said, they had worded it in such a way that if they missed any type or any future type that would come out, they can get that too. Anything belt fed, done. So, like I said, very far-reaching bill. It is, believe it or not, worse than the first assault weapons ban that we've already seen. And then there is a part of this bill that makes it so they need to report any crimes using an assault weapon so they can categorize them and keep track of it all. Now, the only reason I can think that they would want to do that is so that they can come back around later and maybe come and take them all from the people who have them. Because if you have any of these firearms currently, you will be grandfathered. But the way this bill is worded, there's just some implications and some red flags that if this passes, this is not going to be the end of it. You and I both know this is not going to thwart or stop any future mass killings. Not by a long shot. So if this passes, when the next incident happens, and it will happen sadly, they're either going to go for an even more overreaching ban on, say, pump action shotguns, bolt actions, who knows? Or say, well, all you people with grandfathered assault weapons, time to turn them all in. You got 30 days from today's date to bring them to your local police department, or we're coming to get them. And don't say that it cannot happen here. Don't say that, it's impossible. Because anything's impossible until it happens. So, again, guys, I just wanted to bring this to your attention. There's a lot going on right now, and it's not good. It's not good at all. Go look at the stats in Australia when they made all the citizens turn in their guns. Go look at how much home invasions and rapes, burglaries, and assaults went up because the criminal element knew that the population was disarmed. So call your reps. Fight this tooth and nail. We need to be proactive. Make sure you guys, seriously, the anti-gunners are calling and writing and telling their reps they want these bills passed. So we need to do the exact same thing and tell them, don't pass these bills. We will vote you out of office if you do. All right, guys, that's it for now. Until next time, this has been Nick from Truthless News.